Travel and alcohol are so intertwined that most people don't even question it. Like airport wine, poolside cocktails, the all-inclusive drinking. The idea that vacation means escaping your real life for a little while. But what happens when you remove alcohol from the experience entirely? Does travel become less fun? Does it actually become more alive? Today's conversation is about sober choices, identity, and what it looks like to experience the world fully awake. And honestly, it might just make you rethink what freedom actually feels like. If you've stepped away from drinking or the things that used to numb you, you know it changes your life. But it changes the people watching you too. You become quiet proof that something better is possible. On Sober Life Rocks, we talk with people who realize that their choice wasn't just personal, it was a platform, a chance to be a leader, to shorten somebody else's learning curve, to do something that really mattered. If you felt that pull, you're in the right place. Subscribe and stay with us. Today, I'm talking with Darci Murray, founder of Hooked Alcohol-Free Travel. Darci grew up immersed in the travel world thanks to her mother's career as a travel agent, surrounded by brochures and globes and dreams of faraway places, long before most kids even knew that where they wanted to go on vacation. But her alcohol with relationship changed in a really profound way after she chose an alcohol-free lifestyle in 2017. What I love about Darci's story is that she's not just talking about removing alcohol from travel. She's talking about what happens when people really feel safe enough to experience life fully present. Darci, I'm so glad that you're here.
And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh my gosh. Well, we just had such a fun time together at the Sober in the City event in Colorado Springs, and I loved getting to know you. But there's pieces of your story that I just didn't get a chance to talk to you about. So I'd love to know, like, before you stopped drinking,
hmm
what role did alcohol play in your life?
That's such a loaded question. I
Hmm.
mean, it played the primary role. It was the lead character. Not proud to admit it. And, we laugh about these things later in our journey, but no, it was not funny at the time. It definitely played a primary position in my life. My whole budget was around alcohol, like what I would spend, I would have to have a certain amount allotted to what for my wine fund. Um, and thank goodness for my children and realizing that, they're more important than wine because that was the road I was on. It was a scary one, but I'm grateful.
Yeah, yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about like how you showed up in life while alcohol was such an important part of your life? Like who would I have seen if I had seen you back then?
Well, I didn't know who I was back then. That's the scary part, right? When you quit drinking, you're like, what's my favorite color? What kind of music do I like? Like I was the chameleon. I was fitting into all situations long as I could get out of the house, get out of my skin and be surrounded by people. A lot of it for me, drinking was being around people because my core fear is being alone, right? So if I'm out with people and I'm in that party environment, I'm never alone. We all have our core issues, and that's mine. But I didn't know who I was. I can't answer that question, but I didn't know who I was. All I can tell you is that she was not 100% present and fully alive. She was foggy. She was a very
And
foggy person.
were you traveling a lot even back then?
Well, as you mentioned when you introduced me, my mom owns a travel agency. So I was blessed with more travel than the average person. Um, but I was drinking when I first had children. And we all know that when we first have kids, we're not traveling very much, right? We're dealing with strollers and we're at home. And yet I have four boys too. So I mean, I have a plethora of children. Yeah, all through my pregnancy years, I was not drinking, thank goodness. But when my youngest was, because they're back to back, they're all four boys apart, 2 years apart. So when my youngest was born, I kind of decided that I was a superhero, that, I got life under control. I'm like, taking my kids to their appointments. I'm scrapbooking. I was such a good scrapbooker, Margy. And I just felt that I was like the super mom with the four boys. And I was told that I was a super mom all the time because I was balancing the four kids, right? And I decided that, yeah, I could start drinking. Oh, so that's a piece of my story. I have two rodeos. So I was drinking in my early 20s, or all through my 20s, I should say, sorry. And I had to give up alcohol then. So I knew it was a problem before having children. So I had had my first rodeo prior to having children, went through all my pregnancy years sober, and then decided I was a superhero and went back. So there's two rodeos, and I think that's an important piece, um, because we can get overly confident. It can sneak up on you, and it did on me, 100%.
And so the second time around,
Mhm.
what changed? What happened that made you think this is it? This is I'm done.
Well, it was pretty easy because I had the problem, because I knew it was an issue, right? And I knew that I had quit once before, and I had quit with the r rooms of AA. So what happened the second time was I had to take a hard look at myself, because I was drinking daily, and things like my son's hockey practice would come up, or my son's drum lessons, and they would be at like 8 o'clock at night. And I would be, that's really inconvenient for my drinking career. I don't want to be driving my precious little children around at 8 o'clock at night. Because I didn't do the whole drinking and driving thing, right? But that was enough for me to realize that I'm putting alcohol first. If I'm having these thoughts that it's really inconvenient to take my child to hockey practice, that's not being the best version of myself that I could possibly be. That's not being the best mom that I could possibly be. So I was able to take a hard look at that and realize I needed to get my butt back into the rooms of AA.
Mm. You just told me that you had your identity sort of wrapped up in being the social girl, the fun girl, going out and drinking with friends. So when you got sober, what was your thought about like how life was going to be after?
Boring. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it would be really boring. Um, For myself, yeah, no, I thought it would be really boring. But I knew that, as a mom, that it was the right decision. So, um, but yeah, and I remember when I first got sober, and thank goodness for the community of AA, because I got heavily involved in AA, and I'm a rule follower. So, they told me to do certain things, and I did them, and I did them three times fold, right? So I had a very large community, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right off the get-go. Um, I didn't hide in the walls. I really jumped in, head first, feet first, whatever you want to call it, and had a large community. But I remember, like, they'd be like, okay, new girl, like, hey, do you want to go bowling? And I was like, why would anybody want to go bowling? Hey, we're going to go snowshoeing this weekend. Come with us. Who snowshoes? These activities that they were doing sound mortifying to me. you know,
And did you go?
because at that point, my brain was still telling me in order to have fun, you need to be like, really tipsy or drunk, right? So, yeah, it was really funny. I totally remember those times. Like, let's go bowling. No.
Did you go to any of those mortifying
Yeah,
things?
I forced myself to go, and I had a good time, right? Like, obviously what I was doing was not working for myself. So I was very open, and I think that's a real blessing. I was very open to what other people say. Yes, that voice did take place in the back of my head, but I did it anyway.
Tell me about the first sober trip that you took. And what was surprisingly hard about it for you?
Um, sober trip being
A
just
trip where
me
a
traveling
trip,
with other people that might be drinking, or as a once I established my business.
no, for yourself. The first time that you traveled after you got sober.
Okay, that would have been on the that would have been on the first time I quit drinking. And at that time, I was bringing in home decor items from Asia, and I was leading shopping tours. So I've always been kind of the group leader, right? But at that point in my life, I was leading shopping tours, and I had taken a group of ladies over to Vietnam to purchase things over there and just kind of experience Vietnam. And all the girls wanted to go down to this bar. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to go down there. I don't think it's a good decision. I don't think it's a healthy decision for me and my sobriety. So I chose to stay in the room. And that was back in the days when long distance was really, really expensive. And I called a girlfriend back home and I was just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I don't belong. I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't want to do the things that the other people in the group were doing. And I felt like it was a really big pity party and a really expensive one because it was long distance. And, but thank goodness I picked up the phone and did what I was supposed to do, right? Um, yeah, and that brought me into, I guess, the second time that I quit drinking and still being in a career of travel. I knew that something had to be done to fill that void.
I mean, I can so relate to that. Like trips that I've taken, whether it's for leisure or for business, I can be with all the people doing all the things until that moment comes. And of course, it doesn't bother me now to sit next to
Mhm.
somebody who's drinking, but if the sole purpose is going to a bar or the sole purpose is the drinking, it feels very isolating.
It does. And it still does. You know where I feel it the most still? Even I'm 8.5 years into my journey, right? Um, at conferences. At conferences when you're surrounded by like a very large group of people, and it's in my head because surely if you're with 1,000 people, they're not all drinking. Let's face it, right? But so it's in my head, but I feel like I need to be the first person to arrive, do a little bit of networking, and then get the heck out of Dodge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's flip this coin a little bit. Let's think about some of your first trips that you took, maybe that Vietnam trip, but maybe other trips where you weren't drinking. What surprised you in a good way?
Back then?
Or recently? I mean,
Oh, okay. So can we flip the coin to hooked then? Like traveling with a group of sober people?
absolutely.
Okay, let's flip it to that. So the previous, what I was saying, like I felt very isolated and I didn't feel like I was part of the group. And now, as you know, I created this company, Hooked Alcohol Free Travel, which is simply so simple. And it's funny when you put together a company, you're trying to figure out what you stand for and what your niche is and different directions. And it's so simple. It's just people that don't drink. So it doesn't matter if they're in recovery. It doesn't matter if they are doing it for health reasons, lifestyle reasons. Um, even if they're sober curious or gray area drinkers, or we even have sober supportive people on our tours. But the fact that they all just have the same mindset that they want to travel with like-minded people, it is a game changer. It is a game changer. All of a sudden, that layer of like inauthenticity is just gone. So when you're meeting people on day one, it's not like you're talking about the weather. It is like you are true, authentic connections right from the get-go with the primary purpose of exploring the globe and like taking in all that it has to offer. It's an incredible, incredible experience. And there's no lonely feeling whatsoever.
So I'm so curious because that seems such an obvious thing. And
Hmm.
I have to tell you, like, I've looked over the course of the past couple of years for more travel for people who are choosing not to drink, and there isn't a lot.
Hmm.
So, was there an experience that you had in your own life that kind of led you to this so obvious, like, but revolutionary idea?
Is there something that happened in my life?
Like some part of
I needed
travel
a kick
or
in the butt. So we have to retract a little bit because even though I was sober and even though that I was like jumping in and even though that I was surrounded by a community within AA, I still was carrying a lot of shame. So my kids go to a private school, and when I was attending meetings, I had this car, and it was plastered with my company name, and it and had our tag phrase, which is "Travel because you can," and it's this huge logo, right? And I knew that everybody would see my car in the school parking lots, and my car was very kind of distinct within my neighborhood. So when I was attending meetings, I would park my car like blocks away and like walk in with a hoodie. Like I was really ashamed of the lifestyle that I was leading, which is so silly looking back now. But what made me start the company and what made me want to do this simple thing that we are talking about, traveling with like-minded people, is I saw another mom on social media that was doing sober coaching. So, she just kind of came across my feed as people do. And I was like, oh my gosh, this woman that I absolutely respect is a sober coach. Like, how cool is that? So I reached out to her and I'm like, look, I'm leading a sober lifestyle as well. Let's have coffee. So we went out for coffee, and this is COVID, like 2021. Who's going to start a travel company? Oh, I do. But we went out for coffee, and just like her her way of quitting had nothing to do with the rooms of AA, and that's where I was sitting, right? So she was talking mocktails and sober coaching and all these different avenues to not drinking that I was oblivious to, really, right? So we had a fantastic conversation, and she's like, you're in travel, Darcy. We should put together a group of women and go on a trip somewhere. And then I was single at the time, and I was like, why would we limit to just women? And also, I had a lot of, great male friends within my recovery circles. And I was like, why would it be just women? That just doesn't seem like a smart business move, right? Like let's think bigger. So she's like, okay. And then we started Googling, like we're sitting in Starbucks and we're with masks on and we're Googling, what exists for sober travel. And there is stuff, absolutely. There's sober international vacations, I think they're called. They're massive. It's a massive company. And it's very recovery focused with meetings and whatnot. And there's several retreats. There's lots of retreat options, but there isn't, and I still think I'm filling that void solely. There isn't just a travel, like just for the sake of fun, right? Um, and I think I really do fill that void. So we did our first trip to Iceland because there was a show, or there is a show called Down to Earth with Darren O'Lean, which is a very healthy living and food orientated health guru type guy. And then it was Zac Efron, who was in recovery. So these two guys are in Iceland and they have this amazing journey. And then Iceland, of course, is the cleanest destination in the world. So there was that, alliteration. And it's like, we're going to Iceland. We're going to follow in the steps of Zac Efron and Darren O'Lean. And there was only three people on that trip. But and I almost threw in the towel, right? But we did it. And the next trip was 14, I believe. Yeah. And then,
wow.
last year we traveled with 56. Last year in 2025, there were 81 people that traveled with Hooked. 81, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Mhm. But
Congratulations.
that's a lot. Yeah. And it's just
That's
the bonds
amazing.
that grow with traveling with like-minded people. They go and tell two friends and so on and so on and so on. And and it's growing, and we're selling out trips, and it's crazy. I feel
So
like I
see,
was
here's
all over the place there answering your question.
oh, it's perfect. Here's a couple things I want to know because I'm actually getting ready to go on a trip with my husband, and
Uh-huh.
one of the things that I loved about drinking was pairing food and wine. It just felt like one elevated the other, and it was an art form. And I'm still a huge foodie. But when I go somewhere and I get my club soda and lime to accompany my beautiful meal, it just feels like I've kind of, I don't know, lost something.
Wait 5 years. That's my advice. Wait 5 years. So, as you know, we just led with the CPE, we just led the world's first wine tour, first alcohol-free wine tour. And there are alcohol-free wines out there that are getting better and better every single day. So that's my advice. It's going to happen again, Margie. You just need to be a little bit more patient, and we're going to be able to do that. I recently went to Cabo, and I was staying at this hotel, and the restaurant associated with this hotel, Esquina, I'm probably butchering the name of it, but it's in Cabo. They make their own, they gave me a tasting menu. So it was 5 courses, and each course had a alcohol-free beverage to go with it, whether it was a virgin mojito, mezcal, virgin tequila. But I'll send you a picture of this menu. It was like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely happening. I can't believe it's happening. We're having this pairing experience. And it was super, super special. I'm going to be blogging about it soon. I just got back from that trip probably 3 weeks ago. So I'll be blogging on that experience soon. And actually, I was so happy with that experience that I am leading a group to Cabo in either January or February. I just need to
Ooh,
put together the itinerary because what they're doing is unheard of. Just like what you
yes.
said, it's just that's not something that we can experience. And I think they deserve a whole bunch of alcohol-free people to go down there and have that experience. Oh, and it was so beautiful. Oh, and then they did a mixology class for me. So they make all these alcohol-free spirits on site, alcohol-free gin, alcohol-free tequila, alcohol-free mezcal, so there's something else. There was five. And they make that all on site, this one bartender, and they did this private mixology class for me. It was insane. It was so special. I can't wait to
Aw.
share that experience with others. So I hope I
Oh,
answered your question. Yes, it exists. That's one hotel that I know is doing it. But, as you know, the
coming.
movement is strong and it's coming like a huge wave, and others will follow suit.
What have you noticed about people who sign up for trips with you? Because, you and I both experienced that shame factor, right? And we
Mhm.
see people who, well, just this weekend, we talked to people who they feel so alone. They feel so isolated, and maybe in their small town, and they don't know anybody else who doesn't drink, and maybe they don't want people to know. Like, what do you see in people when they go on your trips?
And that like that it's like you know what I mean? Just like all that weight comes off your shoulders and it's just like I belong. This is where I should be. Yeah.
Have you talked to anybody who has come to one of your trips about what it's like for them when they re-enter their lives?
Talk to somebody that when they come back and just back into the day-to-day grind.
Hmm.
No,
I'd be
no.
so
But
curious to
I
see.
struggle with that letdown theory big
Well, I'd
time.
just be so curious to see if having experienced what it's like to be celebrated, to embrace, to feel good about our choices, um, how that then transfers into their lives moving forward. Once they've seen what's possible.
Hey, all I can say is they're usually just picking up the phone and booking another trip. So that's pretty good feedback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think about, and we say all the time here on the show, is that alcohol has become the currency of connection.
Hmm.
It's the first thing that we reach for. It's the thing, it's our crutch when we're gathering with people, that just to have something in our hands. How have you been able to kind of navigate? You said that early on, people have something in common, but I have social anxiety.
Hmm.
I walked into this weekend with Sober in the City with a group of women that I don't know and had some anxiety around it. And they had a beautiful non-alcoholic bar at both of the evening events where non-alcoholic wines were being offered. And so the first thing that I did was go to the bar to get something in my hand. Like it's so ingrained in us.
It's
So
crazy, isn't it?
what do you do to help people like me in those moments where alcohol isn't there to kind of comfort us?
Well, I when in the trip planning process, I do intentional. I'm very intentional about picking hotels and dining in restaurants or sailing on cruise lines that have fantastic mocktail offerings. So, like yourself, it's really important to me. I work hard for my money and I deserve my cheersing moments too. So, I don't want to be isolated and given a Diet Coke or the generic Shirley Temple on a cruise ship. I'll make darn sure that the cruise ship that I pick has offerings that is going to make me feel special and I can clink my glass with my friends because I know it sounds silly, but you just said you feel the exact same way. Having that something in your glass or the shape of the glass or it's so important. It just takes away that layer of insecurity. But yeah, I guess that's all I can say to that question is that I do. It's super important. And I'll even go another level. Like if I'm going to Nashville, for instance, which we did a trip to Nashville. I'll get on Instagram and I'll Google, not, or I'll search, not Google. Within Instagram, I'll search like sober and Nashville. And there are people that will come up. And then I'll privately DM them and say, hey, I'm from Vancouver, Canada. You don't know me, but I'm coming there with a group of people. And like being someone that lives there, where should we go? Like I actually go to that level.
Wow, that's super smart. That's super smart.
And you know what it's like. Us sober people always want to share that information, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. One of the things that Laura and I have been talking about a lot is ga gatherings, whether they're travel or not. Again, culturally, it's been so ingrained in us that it's around drinks. And so we're just exploring this idea of what would it look like to create gatherings where, sure, drinks were on the side, but they weren't the purpose. They weren't like,
Mhm.
let's meet for drinks or let's have a
Right.
celebratory evening with drinks. And I think so much of travel, as I said in the very beginning, is associated with the drinks. So, what have you noticed that is different about traveling with people where that's not the center? Like, do you put more emphasis into different things? Do people sort of meet afterwards doing different things? Like, how have you adapted with that?
Well, we start earlier because I do find that most people that don't drink do tend to get up earlier, and we end earlier as well. And I try to incorporate as many what I call full sensory activities into the day. So, when we were in Iceland, we were doing cold plunges and chocolate carving or cheese tastings, or there's always something on the itinerary that will give a new experience. We might be bird watching one day, and you might not think you're a bird watcher, but I guarantee you there's something that you're going to enjoy about the activity, right? And if not, then you have a story to tell. But I try to get people to be introduced to activities that they would not do within their normal home surroundings, right? That's the purpose of traveling is exploring new places and trying new things. So I make sure that the itineraries are pretty chock-a-block full with different different activities that explore the senses. And it's so funny because people, and I've had negative feedback because negative feedback is everywhere, right? And they'll be like, "Oh, well, your trips cost more money than if I was to book an all-inclusive and just go and hang out at the all-inclusive resort." And I'm like, yeah, they are going to be cheaper to go hang out at an all-inclusive resort. Think about it. You got one bartender. He serves 70 people. He is entertaining 70 people. You know? And you go on a trip like mine when you're going ATVing instead of sitting at a bar. You're going horseback riding. You're going zip line instead of sitting at the bar. And now your ratio is one person to like four, right? Yes. Yes. It's most likely going to cost more money because you're doing more stuff.
Yeah, you get the experience of a lifetime. So
Yeah.
tell me about the trips you have coming up.
Well, next on the roster is, oh gosh, we leave for the Camino. We're doing the Camino in 2.5 weeks now. So that's a pilgrimage walk in Spain to Santiago. And yeah, so that's going to be quite something. We have 10 people on that tour. We're walking 25 kilometers a day. After that, we're doing a cruise from Vancouver to LA with Virgin Voyages. Now, Virgin Voyages is a cruise line that I heavily support because they have an abundance of mocktails. It's a very inclusive concept period. So they're very LGBTQ friendly. They're very body art friendly. There's a tattoo parlor on board this ship. Like it's crazy. It's owned by Richard Branson, and he's all about adult fun, right? So your
And so
cruise
when is
director,
that one?
um, September 11 to 19.
Okay.
And then after that, we have the Australia wine tour in Australia. The Australia wine tour in Australia. Wow, that was really articulate. And we're going to Sydney, Hunter Valley, and Melbourne. And that's taking place with ZPE, Zero Proof Experiences.
And
And
when
then
you say wine tour, what you mean is
alcohol-free wine tour.
alcohol-free wine tour, which is really cool.
I know, right? And then
And
next
then
summer, we have my dry grad program. So I also do trips for teenagers that are coming out of high school, and I take them overseas. We've been to Thailand. We've done an elephant sanctuary experience we had 7 teenagers on that trip. And yeah, teaching them how to travel without alcohol, right? Teaching them how to
ugh,
have fun. It's an incredible program. Like if you think like your child could have their first exposure overseas in a group of like-minded people that are doing healthy things with healthy choices, or they could, be exposed to all the negative things that take place. And we all know that we've done them. Um, it changes the course of their lives. It's a very powerful, powerful program.
I love that.
Thank
I
you.
want to be
I'm
a
super
teenager again
proud.
and go to that.
I'm so proud of that program. I'm just seeing the change in the kids and getting the gratitude and the testimonials from them. I have a hard time thinking about it without getting goosebumps, and the transformation that took place is just mind-boggling. Yeah.
Darcy, as we kind of come to a close here, I wanted to ask you when I asked you who I would have seen when you were drinking, you said, I don't know because I didn't know me.
Hmm.
Tell me who you see today.
Oh, Margy, I look in the mirror and I'm proud of myself. I I am so proud of my sobriety. What used to be something that I was ashamed of, I think it's the biggest gift in the world. I think it was such an eye-opening experience. It allowed me to live. We have one of our phrases in our company. We have t-shirts that say, fully present and 100% alive. I get to be fully present and 100% alive and travel the globe with like-minded people. I have the best job in the world. I have 4 beautiful boys that are so crazy proud of me. Um, yeah, I do. I have a fantastic life.
And what do you know inside of yourself? What is your inner knowing say about who you are today?
Oh, that's a tricky question. That I will always show up. That's what comes to my that's what's popping in. And
Mm,
that's what you want is something that just pops in, right?
it is.
I got a Mother's Day card from my kids, and my one son said, "Mom, thanks for being the most reliable person I know."
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, from a boy,
yeah,
that is everything.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
thank you. How can people find out more about you and your trips?
Our website is hooked-on-travel.com, and Instagram is my primary platform, and that's at Hooked Alcohol Free Travel. We have a
Beautiful.
brilliant blue logo that says Hooked. I love
Well,
the name of
we'll
that
put
my company.
we'll put all that in the show notes for sure. And as I'm sitting here just kind of marinating in what we've talked about, what I love is that it completely reframes the idea that alcohol has to be associated with travel or even anything that just sounds fun. Because, what she's talked about this whole time is that it's not a restriction to not drink. It's actually um, allows us to live into ourselves more fully. It's a presence. It's waking up in beautiful places without exhaustion or shame. It's real connection. It's real memory making. It's real adventure. And maybe most importantly, it's creating places where people don't have to justify their sober choices in order to belong. And for me, that is incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Darci. Really, really excited to hear about this and all the changes that amazing people like you are bringing to the world for people who just choose not to drink for whatever reason. And just know that you are not alone if that is you. And joining in a trip with Darci and her crew would be an amazing place for you to experience what that's like. So definitely check that out, and make sure that you're subscribed to Sober Life Rocks on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, because you'll hear more amazing people like her every week. We're really glad you're here. Thank you, Darci.
Thank you for having me.